There is a small, stubborn, non-zero chance that this is the most dangerous thing we will ever make. In 2023, thousands of the people building artificial intelligence signed their names to a letter. It didn't ask for more money or faster chips. It begged the world to stop, to pause, because they had seen something in the lab that frightened them. Sit with that for a second. The people closest to this technology, the ones who understand it better than anyone alive, are also the most afraid of it. So when we ask, when does AGI arrive? We are really asking something much darker underneath. Are we ready? And what happens if it comes before we are? Is technology good or bad for us? Will AI be the best thing ever, or will it completely wipe out the human race? What future is there for our children, and how do we raise them? Welcome to the Tech Seeking Human podcast. Last episode, we stamped the odds on your job. This one's bigger. When does AGI actually arrive? The predictions range from 2 years to never. And by the end of this video, you'll know whose track record deserves your trust and who deserves to be ignored. Let's go to the board. First, forget the sci-fi for a second. In plain English, AGI just means a machine that can think across everything. Not one clever trick, but the whole range of things a human mind can do. Today's AI is a genius in a box. Brilliant at the one thing, useless outside it. A calculator that can't drive a car. A chess god that can't hold a conversation. AGI is the day the box disappears. One system that can pick up any task you throw at it, the way a person can. Now, when exactly we cross that line, nobody agrees on, because we keep quietly moving the line. A machine beat the world chess champion. We said chess was just calculation. It beat us at Go. We said Go was just intuition. It passed the bar exam. We said, well, the bar was always more of a memory test. AGI is basically whatever computers can't do yet. But underneath all that arguing, here's the thing almost nobody says out loud. It was never the word general that should scare you. It's one other word. Now, before we go any further, there is one thing you need to know. This podcast with Max Tegmark, the founder of the Future of Life Institute, professor at MIT, and the author of Life 3.0, was recorded in 2020. That is 2 years before ChatGPT, 3 years before Claude, long before the general public had any idea what was coming. He predicted all of this and a great deal more. I asked him why this frightens him, and he said something I've never been able to shake.
We're in charge right now, we humans of this planet, because we're smarter than the tigers and the other animals. If we make something even smarter than us, there's no guarantee that we won't even lose control and we might just get wiped out the same way that we wiped out the Neanderthals.
That is the whole ball game, and it's worth slowing down on. We don't run this planet because we're the strongest. A gorilla would win that fight every single time. We're not the fastest or the toughest. Intelligence is the only thing that put us on top. And the fate of every other species now depends entirely on us. Not because we hate them. Most of us love gorillas. It's because we're the ones making the decisions, and they are simply not in the room. So here's the uncomfortable question. What happens the day we build something more intelligent than us? We don't become its enemy. We become its gorillas. And this is the part people get wrong. It does not need to hate us to be dangerous. You don't hate the ants when you pour the concrete for a new house. You don't check with them first. You just build, and the anthill was in the way. A machine far smarter than us, chasing a goal we handed it but didn't think all the way through, doesn't need malice. It just needs us to be in the way. Does it even need us at all? Nobody in those labs can answer that with a confident yes. So let's break it down properly. 4 horizons, 4 camps, 4 track records. Is it this decade, the 2030s, the 2040s, or not this century at all? Each one gets a number. This is the camp inside the buildings. The founders of the biggest labs keep saying the same thing. Powerful AI. Their words, arriving around 2026, 2027, easy to wave off. Of course, the people selling the rockets say the moon is close, but they also have the most information. They see the next model months before you do, and they've been directionally right about the last 3 jumps, while the skeptics called each one a wall. So weight them up for access and discount them down for the sales pitch. Land it honest. And the odds a machine does most remote knowledge work by 2027 are low, but no longer laughable. And if it is 2027, that's a child starting school this year, walking into a world nobody has planned for. Forget the founders and watch the crowd, the forecasters and the prediction markets, the people who put money and reputation on a date and get scored when they're wrong. Watch what their number did. A few years ago, the community forecast sat comfortably decades out, 2060, 2070, someone else's problem, someone else's career. Today, that same crowd has pulled it into the early 2030s, not because of one flashy demo, but because the line kept bending the same way, quarter after quarter. That's the tell. The date isn't just early, it's getting earlier every time they check. The 2040s, because one camp has been right before, and scar tissue deserves respect. The skeptics point at what today's system still can't do. Learn continuously instead of forgetting everything between conversations. Reason reliably instead of confidently making things up. Act in the messy physical world, not just the tidy digital one. And they have a track record. Remember when fully self-driving cars were always 2 years away? They were 2 years away for about 15 years. The gap between a jaw-dropping demo and a system you'd trust with your kids in the back seat turned out to be enormous. So the honest version, the last 10% is the hard 90%. Stretch the horizon to the 2040s and you're not a pessimist. You're pricing in every almost that came before. And this is not a fringe position. It's one I've put to people who study this for a living. Here's the mathematician and broadcaster Hannah Fry on this podcast.
There's that old saying that when it comes to new technology, we tend to underestimate the long-term impact of it and overestimate the short-term impact. And I think that it's also true of AI, right? I think that, like, especially when, the latest machine vision came into being and everyone was very excited and everyone started talking about Terminator again. I think all of that stuff is sort of more fantasy than reality, I think, certainly in the short term. But I do...
Notice exactly what she said, because it's the whole argument in one sentence. Fantasy in the short term, underestimated in the long term. That is not a dismissal. It's a warning about which clock you are reading. Never is a real position held by serious people that this path, these machines, hit a ceiling and stall out. Give it its due. But notice what never quietly assumes, that arrival is an event. A single morning you wake up and the news says it's here. It won't be. What day did the internet arrive? There isn't one. There's a decade where it soaked into everything until a world without it was unimaginable. AGI, if it comes, arrives the same way. Not a doorway, a tide. Which makes never the least useful answer on the board because the water is already at your ankles. But here's the thing that nobody in any of these camps will tell you. The question itself is broken. In 2023, one sentence went out, signed by the founders of the biggest AI labs alongside the scientists who invented the field itself. It read, "Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority, alongside pandemics and nuclear war. Extinction. Not job loss, not disruption. Extinction, named in the same breath as nuclear war, signed by the very people racing to build the thing. Geoffrey Hinton, one of the men who built modern AI, walked away from his job at Google so that he could warn people without a salary getting in the way. And when researchers in the field are asked quietly to put a number on the true worst case, a machine we can't control, a future we don't get a vote in, the typical answer is not zero. It sits around a few percent. Sit with that number because your brain wants to round it down to nothing. Don't. If your surgeon looked at you before an operation and said there's a 5% chance this kills you, you would not call that a small number. You would call your family. I've met the people behind that 5%. When the recording stops, the worry doesn't. You don't forget it. You don't get to unknow it. It scares me. Percentage probability that this happens in, say, the next 50 years?
Oh, I mean, I'm a pretty cheerful guy, but I definitely think that there's a less than 50% chance that we humans are going to survive, that there are going to be any humans left in 100 years.
50% chance?
Less than, he said.
Less than. Why? So is it hopeless? No. And here's what changed how I carry all of this. Capability and impact run on two different clocks at two different speeds. Capability is fast now. A model can gain a whole new skill overnight in one release, but impact is slow. It takes years for that skill to grind through regulation, habit, trust, and plain human caution before it reaches your actual life. Machines could pass the bar exam roughly 2 years before they changed how a single law firm staffed a single case. That lag is not a footnote. That gap between what the machine can do and what it does to us is the only room we have to get this right. To build the guardrails, to decide on purpose what we hand over and what we keep. That window is closing, but it is not closed. And not closed yet is the most hopeful sentence in this entire video. But hang on, can we actually stop this? Can you stop progress? It's the question I get every single time. And here's the thing, there is precedent. We have done it before. In 1996, we cloned a sheep, and the whole world realised human cloning was next. So we decided collectively that we were not going to do that. Dozens of countries banned it outright. The science didn't vanish. The line just held. We did the same with chemical weapons, with the chemicals that were eating a hole in the ozone layer, with blinding laser weapons, a technology that worked, that armies wanted, and that we agreed to leave on the shelf. None of those were stopped because they were impossible. They were stopped because enough people decided the risk was not worth the reward. So no, the future is not something that simply happens to us. It is a series of choices, and we have made the hard one before. So when does AGI actually arrive? Not a date, a distribution. Weighing the insiders, the markets, the scar tissue of every forecast before, and the fear of the people who know it best. Unlikely this decade, more likely than not within 2, and a small, stubborn, non-zero chance that it is the most dangerous thing we ever make. The date was never really the question. The question is whether we meet it awake or asleep. Look, I don't know the date, neither do CEOs, so that's kind of the point. So stop waiting for the arrival date. The change is continuous. It's already here. What you need to do instead is find a task that you need to complete. Use AI today, and then in 6 months from now, redo that task, and you'll see just how quickly AI is changing. If you think AGI is coming, drop the date into the comments. Let's see where you think. And argue with this board. That's what it's for. Thanks for watching Tech Seeking Human. Be human.